The question is, over time, we can lose our initial enthusiasm, become stagnant, and even numb in some ways. What advice would you give to avoid such negative situations and maintain our vitality? The answer: first, we must acknowledge that even someone engaged in exciting and attractive work can eventually become weary of doing the same thing. Constantly doing the same things, always following the same formats, can steal the initial excitement of the work. This is true for those engaged in worldly affairs, as well as those involved in higher truths directly related to spiritual life. If certain points are not considered, if there is no renewal in form and style, even if the truths being dealt with retain their inherent sublimity, they may become dull and lose their appeal in the eyes of those engaged with them. Even in people who do their work with great love and enthusiasm, excitement fatigue can eventually set in. God forbid this situation may cause the cessation of God's grace and favor. God's mercy and favor are upon those who always hear and feel the divine revelation in its original form, who accept and live it, and thus remain alive and vibrant, constantly renewing themselves, playing with the molds even if the things they do are the same, and thus always remaining fresh. They do not fall victim to familiarity and routine. To avoid falling into routine and staleness in their work, they constantly change formats, seek means to maintain their love and enthusiasm, and discover new ways and methods. They maintain their metaphysical tension by introducing variations and innovations that do not compromise the divinely prescribed forms of worship and the spirit of religious commands. However, forgetting the meaning and content of the work done, getting attached to forms and appearances, and sacrificing them to procedures, can eventually extinguish the love and enthusiasm of these people as well. For example, some people come together to publish a magazine. They sit down and talk. They evaluate the incoming articles among themselves, choose the ones they deem appropriate, place them in the magazine, do the layout, determine the cover, or they brainstorm about the advertising, sales, and marketing of the magazine. Perhaps they even see these as the most perfect of the things that can be done for God. As the work becomes routine, the forms and molds of the work they do begin to occupy them, and in the meantime they forget why and what they are doing. They gradually move away from the meaning, content, and purpose of their work. However, if we are publishing a magazine, writing an article, or printing a book, the main goal is to introduce God better, to find different ways and means to tell people about Him once again through these means, and to trigger their feelings and excitement. If what we write, draw, do, and read does not take us 2 steps forward in terms of knowing God, it is appropriate to throw them all into a pit and pile stones on top. While we are on the subject of forgetting the purpose, I think it is beneficial to remind you once again of an issue that we have dwelt on many times in different contexts. Some people who set out on a path seeking only God's pleasure eventually forget their lofty goals, become deceived by appreciation and applause, and their horizons narrow. When people do brilliant and eye-catching work, they have many applauders. Wherever they go, conversations about them start. They are praised and complimented. They become proud and self-satisfied. If they have not deepened in sincerity and have not established a strong relationship with God, it is not surprising that they become intoxicated by applause. Because they are not strong enough to bear the gazes directed at them, cracks and fractures may appear in their heart and spiritual life. What is required of those who walk on the path of God is to be intoxicated with knowledge of God, with love, with passion, with divine longing. They should be able to step aside in the face of the praises pouring down on them like raindrops and say like Bediüzzaman, "O Lord, I am lonely, helpless, weak, powerless, sick, helpless, old, without will. I seek refuge in your court. I ask for your forgiveness. I ask for your help." There is no fading, withering, or discoloration in those who turn to God with these considerations. What is required of those who walk on the path of God is to be intoxicated with knowledge of God, with love, with passion, with divine longing. They should be able to step aside in the face of the praises pouring down on them like raindrops and say like Bediüzzaman, "O Lord, I am lonely, helpless, weak, powerless, sick, helpless, old, without will. I seek refuge in your court. I ask for your forgiveness. I ask for your help." There is no fading, withering, or discoloration in those who turn to God with these considerations. Yes, if the relationship with God is not kept strong, fame, wealth, and power can become calamities that paralyze and kill the human spirit, and history is full of names that have been struck down in this way. Power has taken away people's purity. Many who have attained power and authority have lost their spiritual essence. If the essence cannot be preserved, similarly, things like having certain knowledge, possessing a certain amount of learning, writing and drawing can also cause people to experience losses in their belt of gains, and like strong winds, they can sweep people away. Such people say, "I know," and they trust their own knowledge and learning. However, God does not love those who say, "I." There cannot be two "I's" in one place. Where God is, there can be no talk of another self. Therefore, although they are created in the best of forms, they imprison themselves in narrowness and kill themselves. Returning to our main topic, someone who wants to stay fresh must constantly renew themselves. Even the survival of our physical body depends on its internal renewal. Our cells die over time, but new ones replace them. When there is a fracture, tear, or injury in our body, it does not stay that way. The broken place heals, the tears and wounds close, our skin peels, sheds, and renews itself. We all owe our lives to such renewal. Who knows, maybe God is giving us a lesson, a message about our spiritual lives through the changes, transformations, and renewals in our physical structure. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like the video. See you later.